Hey, what's up guys? It's Cypher from CypherPK.com, and today I am bringing you the Proc-based Nightblade build I've been playing for the past couple of days. I just want to say, forewarning, this build is very disturbing, at least what it's capable of pulling off under certain situations, and it is very powerful and kind of embodies everything that is wrong with PvP currently. Well, not everything, because it's not a tank, but everything else as far as damage is concerned. So I just want to say this right now before you guys start, going off in the chat like this build is like terrible for the game. I understand that, but it's not my responsibility to balance this game. It's ZeniMax's responsibility. I'm just putting this build out there because why the hell not? All right, let's get right into it. We're going to start off with the abilities. We're running one-handed shield and 2H. Front bar, we got Relentless Focus. We got Ransack. I'll explain why we're running Ransack in a little bit. We got Ambush. We got Mass Hysteria. And we got Resolving Vigor. Hold up, let me move my camera real quick off to the side so you guys can see the abilities. There we go. Again, Relentless, Ransack, Ambush, Mass Hysteria, and Vigor. We also got Dawnbreaker of Smiting as our ultimate. Now, I will say that this build is pretty flexible as far as what abilities you can run and can't run. There's ultimates you can replace, abilities you can replace, and you can pretty much set up your bars however you feel comfortable. So you don't exactly have to run it the way I'm running it, but this is just the setup that I found the most comfortable. I was the most comfortable with this setup. Back bar, we got the 2H, Rally for healing, Rearming Trap, Shuffle, Siphoning Attacks, Dark Cloak. Notice I am not using the other morph, which gives you a crit. You're gonna be in medium armor using this build, unless you run the heavy version of it. So the extra 8% damage reduction is pretty important in my opinion. We also have Incapitating Strike on the back bar. I will tell you what you can run besides these abilities once I go through the build and the sets. That way you can at least understand the setups that we're running, so you can understand why I'm recommending different ability slots for certain things on your bar. The armor sets. We are in all medium. Tremor Scale, Helmet, Tremor Scale, Shoulder. Sturdy and Divines, this is just what I got. Preferably want to go all Impen. You can have some sturdy in there if you want to, but all Impen is usually the way to go, especially since you're in medium armor. All maximum stamina, all the glyphs. So the way we're running this build is we're running 2 Tremor Scale, 5 Widowmaker, and 5 Viper. Now there's a couple ways you can set this up. You can go Viper Jewelry with a Viper Sword and Shield, sharpened Impen, and then 5 Widowmaker pieces on the body that are Impen. Now, for me, the easy way for me to set up based off of what I already had is I went with Widowmaker Jewelry, throw 3 Widowmaker Jewelry, all weapon damage, robust, 2 Widowmaker body pieces, the chest and the chest and the boots. It doesn't really matter which one it is. And then for the Viper, I went Viper Sword, Viper Shield, and 3 Viper body pieces, so I can get the 2 5-piece bonuses. My back bar is a defending Maelstrom Battle Axe. It can be defending, it can be sharpened, it can be a Viper 2H that is sharpened or defending. You got a few options over here. Now let's go over these sets real quickly. Tremor Scale, maximum stamina. When you taunt an enemy, you have a 50% chance to cause a Dune Ripper to burst from the ground beneath them, dealing 8,000 physical damage to all enemies within 4 meters, and reduce their movement speed by 70% for 8 seconds. This effect has a cooldown of 4 seconds. So really short cooldown, really high proc rate, and high damage. It's also AoE based, so you can hit multiple people with one Ransack. You hit one person with a Ransack, and if there's more people near him, the Dune Ripper will hit those people and snare them as well. So very strong ability, which is why we are running Ransack on this build in the first place instead of Surprise Attack. I get that question every single day. Second setup is the Widowmaker set. 2 weapon criticals, maximum stamina, and when your poison fires, we're talking about the weapon poisons that we have slotted here, when it goes off, you deal 9,000 poison damage to all enemies within 5 meters of you. Now, this does not have a cooldown, but poisons do have a cooldown. Each poison has a 10-second cooldown on each bar. So, technically speaking, you can proc Widowmaker on your sword and shield by light attacking. It's a 20% chance to apply the poison. And then you can weapon swap and light attack with your back bar and proc Widowmaker again. Widowmaker is very strong, really high damage. It's also AoE, so I don't think it's dodgeable. And it just flows with the build when you're doing your light attack animations. Viper. Everybody should know what the set does by now. We got weapon critical, maximum stamina, weapon critical. When you deal damage with a melee attack, you deal an additional 7,800 poison damage. This effect occurs once every 4 seconds. So we have 2 sets that have a 4-second cooldown. We have Widowmaker, which doesn't have a cooldown, but is based off of your poisons, which each have 10-second cooldowns. So you can pretty much proc 1 every 5 seconds, pretty much. So a lot of procs, as you can see. A lot of procs. A lot of damage potential. But the biggest issue this build has is 1, you are in medium armor, and 2, your sustain is pretty crappy compared to heavy armor users. So it's a very fragile build. You can get killed very quickly, and you can run out of stamina very quickly. Now, a lot of people are going to say this build is easy mode, but I will say that yes, the damage output is very easy to pull off. It's not that complicated. But actually staying alive, managing your buffs, and avoiding incoming damage is pretty important, and if you don't pull that off, you're going to end up dying a lot with this build, and it's not going to be fun. Now, before I go back into the abilities, I want to say that there's a different version of this build you can run, which doesn't involve medium armor. All you have to do is put on Black Rose. We already know Black Rose is very strong. There's no doubting that. 5 pieces of Black Rose. We have the 5 Black Rose. I'm just going to switch out my jewelry to the Viper jewelry that I have. And now you have your setup, which is 5 Viper, 5 Black Rose, and the 2 Dune Ripper. This setup is probably going to be better for dueling, give you a lot more survivability in open world. You won't die as much. You can stay alive a lot longer. Your stamina sustain is a lot better. It's because of how strong and valuable heavy armor is in PvP. Now, I will say I'm getting a little bit sick of running heavy armor, which is why I have a better time playing the Widowmaker setup, which is all medium. It's just a lot more fun for me, and the burst damage is fun. When everything stacks up, you can see some really crazy shit going on, and I will point that out to you guys when I get the chance. I'll put some videos at the end of this video, or maybe make a different video with a bunch of montage clips put together of this build in action. So, what poisons am I running? Honestly, you can run any poison you want. I went with these because I like the damage output you get from the poison procs. Damage health poison, which deals 1537 poison damage per second for 3.3 seconds, increases the cost of your victim's stamina abilities, and then deals another set of poison damage. The back bar, it's just the 2 poison individually with a little bit more time added to them. You can run cost increase, you can run root poisons, you can run any poisons you want. Honestly, I like the damage ones because it gives you a little bit extra, a little bit extra pressure and an extra dot that you can apply to people. So that's the build. Let's go back to the abilities really quickly. Now, before I go back to the abilities, people are going to ask, if I don't have Widowmaker, or if I don't have Viper, can I run this instead? Can I run that instead? Sure, you can. My opinion is if you don't have these sets, go with Black Rose. Black Rose is easy to obtain. Just go farm Imperial City for like an hour. You'll get enough Telvar Stones to buy Black Rose. Viper, if you want to get Viper, don't make the mistake I did, okay? I spent 18 hours trying to get this Viper sword, and I feel like an idiot. The reason being is when you're using one hand and shield, it doesn't matter if you're using a sword, a mace, or a dagger. It doesn't matter. There's no passives involved in those weapons for one hand and shield. If you're using dual, that's a different question, but this is a one hand and shield build. Fungal Grotto Stage 2 Fungal Grotto, I believe on vet mode or non-vet mode, either or will work. One of the first bosses drops a dagger called Dagger of the Shadows, or Shadow of Daggers, or something like that. And it's basically a Viper sharpened dagger that you can use for this build. It's very easy to get. You can get it in under an hour. You can get it pretty much in 10 minutes. You can pretty much get it on your first run doing that dungeon. Go get that dagger. Don't do the mistake I did, because if you try to get this sword that I have right now, it's going to take you a long time. The drop rate on this sword is like 1 every like 300, 400 runs in Fungal Grotto Stage 1. As far as the armor pieces, I believe you can get Viper from both Fungal Grotto 1 and Fungal Grotto 2. My recommendation is you just run the dungeon on normal mode, speedrun it with a group of DPS, kill all the bosses. You'll eventually get the impen pieces that you need for Viper and the jewelry. If you want the purple jewelry, though, you have to run it on vet mode, Fungal Grotto 1 vet mode. Widowmaker drops from Crypt of Shadows, which is the Veldrith dungeon. It drops pretty frequently. Just run the dungeon a few times on normal mode and you'll get the Widowmaker pieces you want. If you want the Widowmaker jewelry, you have to run it on vet mode. At least if you want it in purple, you run it on vet mode, clear the dungeon. It's a pretty difficult dungeon for beginners, but if you get a good group together, you should be able to get the sets. Keep in mind, all these sets are PvE sets. You cannot purchase them. You cannot buy them. You cannot craft them. Dune Ripper, the helmet comes from Volenfell. With the changes done recently to how dungeons work, it's a guaranteed drop on the last boss. You want medium, sturdy trait is fine, impen, divines, whatever you get should be fine. The shoulder, you get it from Redbeard's chest in Undaunted. That's the chest you want to open, Redbeard, I believe. So, that's the setups. If you don't have some of the stuff, just go Black Rose. It's an easy to go to setup. There are some other sets I still want to acquire and test on this build. This build is more of a Nightblade oriented build. If I was on a DK, I'd probably use something other than Widowmaker. I'll leave that for a different video. Sorcerers, you can pull this off as well. Other classes. For now, I just want to say this is a Nightblade build. I don't want to just commit and say this can work on every class because I'm not sure if it'll work on any class. I haven't tested it yet. I will very soon though. Let's go back to the abilities really quickly. Now, keep in mind, your resources are going to be an issue a lot with this build, so you want to make sure you balance yourself properly with your abilities. You're not going to have that much mobility with this setup. You could drop Trap Beasts for Shadow Image if you want to teleport. I tried that. My only issue was that I was running out of Magicka very quickly, because if you run Shadow Image, you literally have 5 stamina abilities and 5 Magicka abilities on your bar. With very little Magicka recovery, you can't pull those off. And if you go drinks, like Magicka and stamina recovery, your health is very low. That's my issue with that setup. If you're running Black Rose, you can go max health, max stamina. You should be able to sustain fine in open world and in duels because of Black Rose. If you're in medium armor, my recommendation is that you use Zorga's Triple Trifle Pocket, which gives you maximum health and stamina recovery. If you're in Black Rose, you can use the one that gives you max health and max stamina. You should be fine. The ability slots you can take in and out. You can put Shadow Image instead of Trap Beast if you want. You can drop Relentless Focus for any other ability that you feel like putting. Executes. Honestly, that's pretty much it. Like, you could put Defensive Posture if you want. As far as ultimates are concerned, you can drop the Dawnbreaker for Spell Wall or the other morph to have just an oh shit button in case things go south. You can activate this ability to block all incoming damage, which is really nice for free. But I like Dawnbreaker's burst DPS, and I like Incap. I use these ultimates back and forth. Like, I don't prefer Dawnbreaker or Incap. If I'm going against a heavy healer, someone who's healing a lot, I will use Incap. If I'm going against a group of people or somebody who's dodge rolling a lot, I'll use Dawnbreaker to knock them out. So having both these offensive ultimates is very, very nice. It gives you a lot of opportunities. Let's look at the champion points really quickly. We do have a lot of points into cost reduction because our stamina recovery isn't that high when we're using the max health, max stamina. With the max health, magic stamina recovery, your recovery goes around 2k, which you can put more points into stamina recovery if you want to, but I still have 30 in here for now. 17 into tenacity and 40 into tumbling. Now, and also 20 into Shadow Ward, which would reduce block costs. But you want to try to avoid blocking with this build too much, just because your resources. You want to use the one-handed shield for the animation canceling to improve the DPS with Tremor Scale. You also want to use it sometimes to block certain abilities when you can't cloak or avoid it. 20 points into Bless for extra healing. 30 into Melee Weapon Expert, just so we can get this passive, which while blocking, there's a 50% chance to return about 4k damage to the attacker. When you block a melee attack, it can be pretty useful against other melee builds. 5-second cooldown. Over here we got 80 points into Mighty, 50 into Precise Strikes. Keep in mind your critical is going to be really high because you're wearing Viper and Widowmaker, which both have a lot of critical bonuses onto them. So improving your critical bonus damage is pretty nice. Thaumaturge, I just put 7 points in here. You don't have that many dots, but it's not that bad to have. 50 point into Resistance. 67 into Hardy. 40 into Elemental Defender. There's more stamina builds out there, so I put Hardy, and then 20 into Thick Skinned. 10 into Quick Recovery for a little bit extra healing. CP, I'm not an expert at CP, I'm going to be honest with you. There's probably better setups, more min-max setups. I don't like to sit down and do numbers. I just do whatever feels good, and I go with it. That's my thing. If you find a better setup for you, go for it. Let's look at the stats really quickly. Unbuffed, with the maximum health and stamina recovery, we are a red guard. Maximum health, stamina recovery, we have about 1928 stamina recovery. Weapon damage is at 228. Maximum stamina is about around 34k, and 21.5k maximum health. About 50% weapon critical. Now, when we are buffed with Relentless and Rally, weapon damage is 2600. Now, that seems pretty low, but with all the proc sets going off, you do a lot of damage. Stamina recovery is 2000. Now, when we're buffed with the Potion and Cloak, when we're in Stealth, The recovery is about 2,300 and the damage is about 2,785. 51.9% weapon critical. Still 33.8k maximum stamina. So this is the setup. If you go Black Rose, you can drop the recovery and go with the max health, max stamina. I honestly need this recovery to stay alive and fight for a long period of time. The damage is still very high. Your stats don't look that impressive with this build. Like, it doesn't look impressive. 2,600, you know, weapon damage and 34k max stamina with like 2k regen. It doesn't look impressive because a lot of the things you are doing, a lot of your damage is coming from things that you don't even see on the stat sheet. Dune Ripper, Widowmaker, Poisons, Viper, animation canceling with Light Attack, Ransack, Bash. All those things come from your sets. That being said, I don't like this style of play, but it is very fun, and hopefully ZeniMax shifts us back to a more skill-based oriented meta. But until they do, you got to play to your strengths, especially as a solo player. You got to figure out a way to combat the larger groups and stay alive and have some fun while PvPing, because at the end of the day, it's all about PvP, guys. It's all about having fun. If you're not having fun, if you're getting zerged down and killed left and right, then, you know, you got to switch things up and have fun, because if you're not having fun, then what's the point of playing? I think I about covered everything. The best race, I believe, for this build is Redguard, but you can pull it off with Orc, Imperial, Khajiit, Wood Elf. Like, all the stamina races can pull it off, but I think Redguard gives you the best options because of this, because of Adrenaline Rush. As far as passives, you want all the one-handed shield passes, all the two-handed, all the Nightblade passes, medium armor passes, heavy if you're using heavy, plus medium. Fighters Guild, Undaunted, whatever. Like, just people always ask me like, what passes you? All passives. Any passive that you think will help you, use it. Alchemy, this is a really important passive. So, a lot of PvP players don't use this passive, but it's very important. Increases your potion cooldown. So that is the build, guys. I'll be working on a Templar build next. Okay, I don't know what exactly the Templar build is going to be. I'm kind of going to make things up as I go. But it should be a very interesting, very strong build. It should be very fun to play. So, thank you guys for watching. If you see this build video uploaded, look for a PvP video that's also going to be uploaded around the same time, showcasing this build, because people want to see it in action. I have a lot of clips already recorded. I'm going to be posting that on YouTube around the same time that this build video goes up. I'll probably post the PvP video first and then the build video later that day. So check it out if you haven't seen the other video so you can see it in action. Thank you guys so much for watching. Visit cypherpk.com for more PvP builds. I'll be updating the builds as well over there. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I appreciate you. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.